Hey guys, it's Hink here. So today I wanted to bring to you basically a video which I think is the basically top 5 tips that I have for guys that are doing these different enlargement practices. Now, some of these might be obvious and some of these could literally save your pee-pee. So I really think this is worth the watching. It should be a pretty quick video. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. So the first most important tip that I have is you need to do your research before starting. Now, I'm not going to be a complete hypocrite here because, like I said, I watched Derek More Plates, More Dates video. If you haven't seen my video on that, you should check it out. But as soon as he said, I used basically this and enlargement is real, I went out and basically ordered immediately whatever he talked about. And I didn't do my research and I just got into it. And quite honestly, I think by the grace of God, I didn't get injured. But there's a lot of things out there like jelqing. Guys, jelqing is dangerous, and I don't care how many of you guys in the comments say well, I joked for 5 years and I never got hurt. It's yeah, guys don't wear seatbelts when they're driving and they never get in an accident. But if you get in an accident, you get the metaphor. It's dangerous, guys. There's even other urologists that talk about how jelqing is dangerous. And so same thing, there was just a guy on my subreddit that talked about how he was pumping with a constriction ring in place, even though I have a video about don't use constriction rings when you pumped. And he was pumping, he overpumped, felt a pop and went soft and has been having issues ever since. You need to research what techniques are safe, what techniques are higher risk or, potentially higher reward. And you need to actually do deep dives and learn all the information you can before you just go into something that could be dangerous. I get how exciting things are, guys. You're excited, you want to get bigger. This is the first time in your life that you know that it's actually possible, but you really need to do your research. And of course, guys, that's part of what this channel is about, finding a way to do things safely and in fact, science-based. So along with doing your research, you also want to know basically what is going to be best for you. So guys, for example, I would always recommend that you start with things like manual stretches, okay? It doesn't involve any kind of monetary investment. You can get a feel for it. You can see how this works. Is this something that you can even invest your time in before you go out and buy a however expensive extender or pump, whatever it may be? And guys, if you're interested, check out subreddit r/getting bigger. The mods over there do a very good job of trying to make sure that there's no financial bias on the subreddit. And so you get people's honest opinions. And when it is not an honest opinion, it will say promoted post or exactly what the financial disclosure is. But you can check it out and you can see oh, what is somebody's experience with this extender versus what is somebody's experience with this compression hanger or with this pump, whatever it may be. And so you can figure out what works best for your life before you invest a lot of money into buying something, okay? So number 2 is kind of another two-parter. You need to have consistency and you need to have patience, guys. It's so cliche to say that this is a marathon and not a sprint, but it just is. And it's always for I'm not really cruising Reddit as much as I used to, but there's always that guy that is going to say, what's the fastest way to put on an inch? That's a dangerous mentality. I get it. You want the most time efficient thing. I understand that. But typically those higher risk things are oftentimes the one that have the higher rewards, but it's just mitigating that injury risk. In my opinion, it's going to take about 6 to 8 weeks before you notice any kind of really meaningful changes that where you can be okay, this is working. What I also see happen is people jump from trend to trend. Now, I'm not saying certain trends can't add certain benefits, but they read, cold showers. And so they start doing cold showers. And they're some guy gained with a compression hanger, so they buy a compression hanger. Then the next week they read, some guy used an extender, and so they buy an extender. And they're some guy has a vibrating device, and so they buy a vibrating engine or something like that. In my opinion, you need to do your research, find a plan that works for you, and then you need to stick to it for at least a month and a half to 2 months and see what kind of results you're getting. If you're stagnated, if you're not growing, if it's uncomfortable, if you're not using the way it wants at that point, I think it's reasonable to switch. Now, guys, I always say this too, do what the F you want. I'm just some clown in a mask, okay? If you think that's bad advice, then don't take my advice, guys. I mean, it's all good. I'm just trying to give you in general what I've learned over the past 4 years of doing this. That being said, guys, I think we're on the precipice of a scientific revolution of PE. Guys are actually trying to break down the science, break down the collagen science and figure out ways that we can make this more efficient. And so, guys, I'm not going to lie. Vibration therapy, adding that into PE, it seems promising. I still have yet to see really conclusive evidence, but, I know a few guys that are trying it and it seems to slightly expedite gains. That being said, don't just poo-poo any new like technique that comes out. I think it needs to be researched. I think it needs to be vetted, but there could be some things that come along that make this process a lot smoother and not faster. So be receptive to new technology or new data that is actually science-based and actually people have actually done the research on, or you could be the one to do the research on. So guys, this one, like, I can't stress it enough. I hope Callie puts it in like bright, bold letters. And I don't know how many times I have to say this. Guys, you need to have realistic expectations. I don't know whether it is, here's my old man rant, this TikTok generation that wants everything in these like 10-second format or whatever it may be. You need to understand that, once again, guys, I have a whole video on realistic expectations. In my opinion, in 1 year, you should hope to get 1/2 inch in length and 1/4 inch in girth. And I know there's people that have gained way more than that, way faster. I understand. I'm not saying it's not possible to gain more. I'm saying that you need to have the mindset of that is going to be a goal that is actually reasonable. Guys, I'm not talking about enhanced. I'm not talking about with a constriction ring on. I'm not talking about the size difference in a pump. I mean unenhanced, not in PE, just like the actual tissue accumulated during that year process is about 1/2 inch in length and 1/4 inch in girth. That way, if you fall short of that goal, you're not completely discouraged, because you should get pretty close to that. If you're doing this anyway, even remotely correctly, you should get close to those goals. And if you overshoot that, you're going to be through the roof, because hey, you were expecting 1/2 inch and you got 3/4 inch instead over the span of a year. But guys, just think about this for me, okay? Because you're probably, you guys are like, a year for 1/2 inch in length and 1/4 inch in girth? That doesn't sound too much. Think about this, guys. Your average guy is going to be about, roughly 5.5 inches by about 4.6 inches in length and girth, respectively. If you add, once again, 1/2 inch in length and 1/4 inch in girth, that puts you at 6 by 4.85. The 5.5 by 4.6, that's 50%, right at the 50 percentile range in length and girth. Adding those stats will take you to almost the 80% in length and the 70 percentile in girth. That means your volume of your penile tissue would increase from 4.62 ounces to 5.06 ounces. That's a 20% increase in penile volume, guys. That's a massive difference. If you say you're going to gain 20% penile tissue in a year, all of a sudden that sounds much more like, wow, that's a lot. I also have a course available. I talk about things like things to track to know that you're growing. Talk about things like, average size. I talk about everything, breaking down everything from set time to extender data. Anyways, check it out if you're interested. The course is in the link below. If you want to learn by me with actually proven and documented results, how to get bigger in a easy to follow step-by-step course that I can basically guarantee you 1/2 inch in length and 1/4 inch in girth if you do things correctly. If you're interested, check it out. Link is in the description below. All right, guys. So number 4 is don't kid yourself. And what do I mean by that? It's easy to do. You get wrapped up in like the PE fever and you're like, oh my God, guys, like check out my gains. And in one picture, it's like your ruler is like this. So it's like this pressing. And then in the next, you're jamming that ruler in and you gain 1/4 inch just by pressing it in further into your fat pad. The reason why this matters, guys, is because if you're like, oh my gosh, I gained 1/4 inch in 6 weeks. And really it's just because you pushed it further into your fat pad. Number one, that's going to be discouraging later on when you can't just keep jamming it into your fat pad. And number 2, if you ever share those results, which most guys don't, I get it, and you say, oh, look, guys, I gained this much in this time period, and it's clearly just because you're altering the angle or you're altering how much you're putting it in or whatever it may be, people are going to call you out for your BS. People aren't as stupid as they used to be. There's a thin line between being like the D police and being like, well, that angle is slightly off, or your shadowing, your lighting is slightly different, and it's casting a slightly different shot. Like, that's different than being like, bro, you clearly jammed the ruler another 1/4 inch into your fat pad. Same thing with like measuring after a pump. If you're measuring your girth immediately after you pump, like, yeah, there's going to be a massive difference. However, it's going to be discouraging when you wake up and all of those gains are gone. So you want to set yourself up for long-term success. Quite honestly, I think that's why a lot of guys like plateau, is because they're measuring with essentially temporary gains, and then those temporary gains kind of slow down or stagnate. And guys, last but like arguably most important is don't get injured. Don't get injured. Don't get injured. I can't tell you how many guys, even guys, you know, I have my Hink trial going on with a bunch of guys that are, I'm kind of in a little bit of a pissy mood, guys, so just bear with me. But it's a lot of guys that were supposed to be following like my Hink recommendations, basically according to my course. And they're like, I want to join the trial. And they're like, oh, well, I want to join the trial, but I want to use an extender. Like an extender is not part of my like mantra of like how to do PE, but it's like, okay, fine. Almost all of these guys that are using extender with a vacuum cap have got a blister. And so as a result, I have a client who's using an extender, and he's, you know, been on the trial for 3 months, but he's only been able to do PE for about 2 of those months, maybe a little less than that, because he keeps getting blisters because of the vacuum cap. Guys, if you injure yourself, even as something as simple as a blister, it's going to set back your gains. And so you really need to research what are the safest techniques, because heaven forbid you get something like hard flaccid, which at its worst can cause permanent damage. If you haven't seen my videos on hard flaccid, I have at least 3 and a course that's available in the description if you're interested. But guys, just please don't get injured. Take it slow, take your time, and do your research to minimize any risk of that happening. So guys, this was supposed to be a shorter video. Depending on how much editing Callie does, I might ramble for way too long. But I appreciate you watching. If you made it this far and you appreciate what I do, thumbs up would go a long way. Your boy Hink is struggling a little bit right now. I'm not gonna lie to you one bit there. So I'd appreciate that. If you want to look for ways to support me and Callie, the link is in the description. If you need to reach me, you can reach me through my Patreon. I do consultation. I also do custom plans through that. Once again, guys, appreciate you watching. Remember, guys, there's nothing wrong with self-improvement, but you are enough just as you are. All right, guys, peace and love.
Dr. Hink got the plug on the health, yeah. Got you thinking about your wealth, yeah. In his office, no stealth, yeah. Pinnacle of that below the belt, yeah. Checks and balance, he's managing. Working miracles, no damage. Got you covered, no panicking. Steady calm. In the clinic, no vanishing. Yeah, with Doc Hink, it's the way back.